Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Diploma in Pre-Primary and Junior Primary Education, Mother Tongue Literacy and Development 3, Assignment-Based Contact Session. My name is Timothy Chunga. What I'm going to present to you today is information taken from both the pre-primary and junior primary study guides. So when you read these slides, please make use of your two study guides. It's very important to note that what I've given, or what I'm going to give you here, is actually the main points of the content that you are expected to cover, but you need to interpret the assignment questions and give information as required. In this presentation, I'm going to begin with the importance of children's literature. We all know that at an early stage we need to introduce children to literature, but why is it important? It's a good thing to teach children's literature because it provides learners with opportunities to respond to literature. So when they read, they also think about what they read, or when they hear you read to them, they think about what they hear and apply that perhaps to everyday things that they encounter in life. Teaches them appreciation about their own cultural heritage as well as of others. Literature is rooted in culture. It could be a story about their own culture. It could be a story from another culture. So as they are exposed to this literature, they embrace and appreciate their own cultural heritage and that of others. It helps them develop emotional intelligence and creativity. By listening to characters, by reading about characters or listening to characters doing certain things, they can also put themselves in their places and think about if it were them, what would they have done? So that develops compassion in them. It develops feeling for others, and also once they put themselves in certain situations, they can create ways to get out of it or ways to do certain things. It nurtures growth and development of learners' personality and social skills, because the people that they read about, the characters that they read about, are interacting with each other. That way, it helps them grow their personality and it helps them develop social skills. It transmits important literature and themes from one generation to the other. Things like do not steal, things like do not be mischievous, all these are transmitted in literature. So if we want these themes to virtues, for example, for them to start learning about virtues at an early age, we incorporate them in literature, and these literatures are passed on from one generation to another with the aim of inculcating certain values in society. So that is one of the importance why children need to learn children's literature. Right? Then while we're still on reading or on literature, first of all, we spoke about specifically literature, but now we're looking at what books are appropriate for children. All right? We all need, it's incumbent upon us to select books that we think are the best books for the children that we are teaching. All right? So there are questions to consider, and these questions will form the criteria that we can use when we choose books. The first question that we need to answer is, are the books you are choosing going to provide enjoyment? First of all, let's not keep our learners bored. Once we give them boring things, they are going to hate reading. They are going to hate books. But once they start with enjoyable stories, then they are going to enjoy reading and they want to read more and more. Will it get them asking appropriate questions? All right? Questions about virtues, questions about mischief, all these things that happen in life. Will you be able to draw from it, transition into other activities? For example, can you ask them to role play this story? All right. Are there characters that they can relate to? Are there things in the story that is, that you can capitalize or ask prior knowledge about? Right? Does the book contain large, simple pictures free from distractions? We don't want to have a page crowded with, pictures or images that they lose track of what these images are used to interpret. So we should have large pictures. The pictures should be simple. They should not be distractive to the learners. Are the pages easy to turn? There you have in pre-primary very young children, and they may be discouraged if they spend so much time just trying to page the pages or turn the pages. In most cases, books that are used for pre-primary, for example, are of thick texture so that the pages are easily separated from each other. Is the text written in a fast-moving plot with a positive closure? Does it take long from beginning to end? All right? If it does, then obviously you're going to lose your children on the way. So it has to have that fast plot, While they are still interested in it, it closes down, right? But closure should also be positive. Happy ever after kind of, fairy tales, where stories end up in a happy way. Because then the children, even when they start reading, they'll be looking forward to that ending, all right? Will an adult enjoy reading the book? In some cases, you need a book that is of repetitive quality. If you are reading for the learners, are you going to enjoy it? If they keep on reading and retelling it, are you still going to enjoy it again? Does the book help learners think about good values? Are the virtues in it? Does the book encourage positive things in life? Positive qualities of life? Okay, is the book free from bias? At times we have books that say bad things about other, social groups, other races, other tribes, and so on. So now, if or even other sexes. So if that is the case in the book that you are choosing for the children, then obviously they are going to adapt these either adapt the biases, or they are going to feel that the book is biased against them and they are not going to like reading the book. What is the repetitive quality of the book? Can you read it over and over again? Can the children still enjoy it every time you read it to them? All right. Does the language contain rhyming words, funny characters, rhyming words? When they are mentioned together, these words make music, some kind of music to the children. They will love hearing the words. Even if they read them themselves, they will love, reading them aloud, and they hear the endings that are very similar. Funny characters in the story, they keep them laughing. They enjoy these characters, all right? So they can also imitate them. So this is how you choose books that can keep your children interested in reading them, all right? Then another aspect that is very important in pre-primary and junior primary is teaching children how to read. All right. The following methods can be used when teaching reading. So we have 4 methods. One is Phonics method. The other one is look and say method. The third one is language experience method. And the fourth one is context support method. Let's unpack each one of these. Phonics method, the letter of the alphabets and the sounds that they make. Very important. So you have the letters of the alphabet from A to Z, but then to follow up, you also teach your children each sound of the letter of the alphabet. All right? So that when these children come across these letters, then they know which sounds are associated with these letters. So they have predictable relationship between letters and sound. All right? Then they learn to blend, to put these sounds together to form words. Could be boring for learners to learn the letters of the alphabet and their sounds, okay? But they can become good readers if they master this. It is the best method known to teach reading, all right? Once they've mastered the letters and the sounds, then obviously wherever they come across these letters and sounds, you don't need to tell them, all right? They know it's a sound. Wherever I see it, then I have to start with a, and p sound, then it's apple, all right? The look and say method. Here you have words or short sentences, and there is no specific system that you can use to have learners, learn these words, other than reading them, and then the learners repeat after you. So they kind of memorize the words as you read. So what happens here is that they can only recognize the words that you have practiced with them. You read, say the word, you point at it, and they also repeat after you. So the next moment they see this word, they will be able to recognize it because you practice it with them. Words accompanied by pictures. So if you have the word apple with an apple, then the picture will help them remember the word apple. All right, so you cannot teach this method without pictures. Not a good method without pictures, but also because there is no system that you're teaching your children to remember words or to connect sounds with letters. This method is teaching reading by rote learning. All right, they just memorize the words the way they see them. The language experience approach is the third one. Here, teachers use learners' own words to help them learn. All right. When you have your learners in class, you can ask them to draw about things that they see in everyday life. And obviously, these learners are going to draw from their immediate surrounding, right? And what do you do with that? You take those pictures and then you write words underneath them, all right? For example, if a child draws a car, then you write the word car under the drawing, okay? And then these learners will now begin to understand or to know that the word for the picture that they've drawn is the one that you've written underneath. You can collect as many pictures from your children, write under them, and turn them into a book that they can read. This method supports concept development and vocabulary. So in other words, they draw things, at times they may not know the words associated with these things, or writing words that are associated with these things. And once you write them for them, they can now develop their vocabulary. The last one is the context support method. Here you choose books that interest children, okay? This kind of method encourages enthusiasm because it's about what they like, all right? When you are using this method, look at both boys and girls' interests. Don't be biased. Use the method with long and short sentences. Sometimes there are books that are designed for this and they have long and short sentences. Or you can use this method with other methods, all right? Then we have, when we read, there are certain clues that may help us or help children recognize words, all right? We call these context clues, all right? Among the context clues, we have semantic or meaning clues, okay? If one wants to use the semantic or meaning clues, they look at their own expectations on the subject. For example, you have a text, for example, about man's best friend, the dog. Okay, so what happens is that you can easily recognize words you expect to hear associated with an object when the text is about it. So if a text is about the dog, you expect things like barking, you expect things like wagging its tail, I mean, a lot of things that are associated with dogs. All right. So the same with the cat, fur, purr, whiskers, when the text is about a cat. So it's very important that our expectations of the meanings that are conveyed through the topic can help us to recognize words. Then syntactic and word order clues. The way words are organized in a sentence is also very important. So if we know our grammar, we should be able to know what kind of word follows. Word order in the sentence, it indicates the part of speech of the missing word, verb or noun. Other parts of speech may not make sense. So if you put, for example, a noun where there is supposed to be a verb, it will not make sense. All right? We know that the word order of an English sentence is subject, verb, object. So you cannot have subject, object. All right? And then picture clues. Picture clues, these are pictures that accompany the text. Illustrations can help in word identification. If a picture accompanies a text, then obviously the word that describes it may be appropriate. For example, if there's a picture of a cat, it would be the most appropriate word that we, if one has to recognize the word that accompanies a cat. Then we have something on good summaries. A good summary has certain characteristics, or should include certain information. And in this case, we need to have the title, the author, type of text, and the central concept of the text at the beginning, very beginning of the summary. Because otherwise we will not know what we are summarizing about. Sentences are organized in a valid, progressive manner. We cannot have just, points. We need to have the sentences in, full. It excludes any personal interpretation and evaluation. When you summarize, it's about what is written in the text. It's not about what you think. It's not about what you feel. It's not about whether it's true or not. Right? The present tense or historical present is used. The length is shorter than the original. So you cannot have a summary that is longer than the original. You cannot have a summary that is the same length with the original. All important conclusions remain in the text. It should be inclusive of the ideas expressed in the text, but stated in a short way. Okay? Then we have another way of encouraging reading, right? And that we call reader's theater. Theater is performance, right? Now, at times you have to make your reading interesting to the children by performing the text, all right? Here, when you have a reader's theater, I'm just trying to help us understand what the reader's theater is. You have children reading aloud, okay? You need to have a grade level book that is appropriate for their grade, all right? They read aloud and they perform while reading aloud. So this type of theater or reading technique combines reading practice and acting. While they read, they also act out the words of the text. All right. If the character is, trying to maybe hold out somebody, then the child that reads that part must also show the actions of the character. This type of reading enhances learners' reading skills and confidence because they can read and act. That helps them in building their confidence. Learners practice reading with a purpose, right? And it gives learners reason to read aloud. It motivates reluctant readers, those that are afraid to read. Once they get used to readers' theater, they will enjoy it. Those that are fluent, they can explore genre and characterization. So these ones, you look at even things like advanced things like the pitch of voice, the tone of voice when they read questions, when they read, exclamations, and so on. Then there is another way. There's a way of assessing reading, and this we call words correct per minute. Okay, words correct per minute is the most efficient way to assess reading rate and accuracy, how fast the child can read and how accurate the child can read. Again, a grade level text is provided. The word correct per minute is calculated by subtracting the number of words read from the number of errors. The score is compared to the grade average. So if the learner's word correct per minute falls below the grade level, then there is a reading difficulty. They need an intervention. However, words correct per minute does not reveal the cause. So in other words, you need to diagnose further so that you may understand what the problems are. Learners' performance needs to be analyzed. Fluency-based interventions may be beneficial for slow readers with a high degree of accuracy. And phonics-based issues may be reviewed. For example, they cannot associate sounds with the letters. All right? Check the types of errors learners make. So that is words correct per minute. It has its own shortcomings, but it also has its advantages. When learners read, we need to motivate them to read, right? We need to demonstrate passion for reading ourselves. We also need to act as model readers, all right? When we read to our class, we should show that we are really passionate about it. We like what we're doing. We are enjoying it. But also, we should act as model readers that children want to read like us. Link reading with learners' interests and goals. Do you read them texts about what they don't like? All right? If they like, soccer, for example, read a text that is about soccer. Encourage learners to use learned reading strategies when they are not sure about the text. Make learning meaningful, taking into account age and interests, right? Provide a rich and varied literacy environment, and give learners opportunity to choose their own reading material. At times, ask them, give them a variety, and they can choose one that they are interested most into. Develop a sense of control over the reading process. Integrate reading into other activities to show that it is an essential everyday skill. It's not just a standalone thing. It should be integrated in life. Focus on the internal reward of personal satisfaction and the achievement of goals that matter to the learner. And then, when writing, the pencil grip. Many of us, I cannot remember being taught how to grip any writing utensil. Maybe it's important to do that. For example, especially when the children are learning to write. There are ways of, encouraging or helping learners to get a good pencil grip. The first one is to place color markers on the shaft of the pencil to show where to place the thumb and the index finger. So you mark for them This is where you put your thumb. This is where you put your index finger. Explain why it is important to change their pencil grip to improve the quality and quantity of writing. Why are you doing this? You can write faster. You can also write legibly. All right. Focus on one point at a time, e.g. keeping the little finger and the ring finger gently curled in, then the thumb position and index finger, and finally the middle finger. So you take this step by step. Try using a triangular shaped pencil, especially good for those just learning how to write. So a triangular pencil, not a round one, but with corners, will help them with a good pencil grip. Then assessment methods. All right. In pre-primary and junior primary, we've got two assessment methods, or two types rather. One is informal assessment methods. How do you assess your children informally? By observing each learner's progress in learning and practice situations. There is no test here. What you do is just observe. How do they learn? How do they interact with others? While they are investigating, interpreting phenomena and data, applying knowledge, communicating and making value judgments, and in their participation in general. So this is outside a test environment situation or assignments or worksheets, but it's the entire learning that you observe. Then you have formal assessment, where you set up assessment situations such as quiz, short tests, oral tests, and worksheets. Here you can mark and say you got 5 out of 10, you got 2 out of 10, or you get 10 out of 10. So these are formal assessments and informal assessments. Those are basically the two types of assessments that can be at play. For any, for example, grade 1, you've got class teaching, so you can assess how your children learn without giving them tests through informal, and by giving them tests through formal assessments. That is the end of the presentation. These are my contact details again. Cell phone number 081-6031-561. You can email me at timchunga@yahoo.com. And again, the contact time hours, please do call me during weekdays between 17 hours and 19 hours. Thank you very much.